downtown, outbound 22. The inbound Eisenhower runs 36 minutes from 390 to downtown, outbound 27. Stevenson 31 minutes, Veterans Memorial to DeSable Lakeshore Drive, outbound 23. Ryan is 18 minutes, 95th to downtown. Bishop Ford 11 minutes, 8094 to the merge. That's traffic. I'm Jim Calamonte on AM 560 The Answer.
Jim, thank you. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Not as warm today. Clouds and sunshine, high 78. Currently 67. Your next news update is at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Listen to AM 560 The Answer online at 560theanswer.com, on the AM 560 mobile app, on your Alexa-powered smart speaker, and on TuneIn, iHeart, and on Odyssey.
From the Matrix Home Solutions studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560 The Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560 The Answer.
Good morning, and I love when doctors fight, especially during Senate committee hearings on the Capitol. Dr. Rand Paul questioning Dr. Fauci about the Wuhan lab and gain-of-function research that was going on at the Wuhan lab.
Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress, do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress.
Microphone.
Your microphone.
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function. Let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans. Right. You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially. You do not know what you are talking about.
As that scientific research that increases the transmissibility among mammals is gain of function. They took animal viruses that only occur in animals, and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain of function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic.
And let's send Dr. Fauci.
I have to, well, now you're getting into something. If the point that you are making is that the grant that was funded as a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2. That's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well, wait a
It
minute.
did come from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab, and there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This committee will allow the witness to respond.
I totally resent the lie that you are now propagating.
Who to believe? Dr. Rand Paul or Dr. Fauci? With more on this, let's welcome back to the program Paul Kengor, professor of political science at Grove City College in Grove City, Pennsylvania, contributor to the American Spectator, and author of The Devil and Karl Marx, Communism's Long March of Death, Deception, and Infiltration. Good morning, Mr. Kengor. How are you?
Hi, Amy and Paul. That's great stuff.
Yeah, so who do you believe?
Yeah, they both called one another liars.
Right.
They both. So and thank you too, Amy, for at the start of that pointing out, calling him Dr. Paul. Right. Rand Paul is a doctor and
ophthalmologist.
He's been and also too not too far from you folks in Chicago. There's Senator Ron Johnson. And Ron Johnson, another doctor, and he said last week that Anthony Fauci is not God, right? Which I think you have to tell that to some liberals, right? They seem to be confusing the two when it comes to medical omniscience here.
Well, have you ever seen a doctor whose face is on mugs, coffee mugs, pillows? There's Dr. Fauci Foxes. I mean, he's completely been idolized, and Dan Proft here calls him Saint Fauci.
Well, no, yes, Saint Anthony. Yeah, there you go. Right. But Saint Anthony, us Catholics pray to when we've lost something.
And
right?
he was played by Brad Pitt.
That's true. I don't believe, because I'm Episcopalian. We don't we don't pray to saints. And my friend Lissa, I lost something. She said, "Well, just give it a try. Pray to Saint Anthony." And I did that night. And the next morning, I found my stuff.
Well, there you go.
So
there you go.
crazy.
Now, if liberals are listening now, they're going to be praying to Saint Anthony Fauci, right, for whatever
Exactly.
it is that's going on. And it's absolutely crazy. I mean, I wrote an article a few weeks ago. In fact, it led to the article that I published in American Spectator called "From Herd Immunity to Herd Mentality." And I first sent the article to one of the regular publications that I write for, and the editor turned it down. We went back and forth and back and forth. And her final determination was, well, the CDC says that young people should get vaccinated anyway. And I said, well, so what if the CDC says that, right? I mean, we've got data here. You go to the CDC website right now. And by the way, I got to point out from the outset here, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, right? But there's information now that the CDC posts saying that they are troubled by reports of adolescents in particular getting myocarditis and pericarditis from the mRNA-based vaccines. Now, these would be the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. And it says twice at the CDC website, we are monitoring this carefully. And then it says, but we still encourage these people to get vaccinated.
And there's even a warning label on the Pfizer vaccine.
That's right. It's never come off, saying that it's experimental. And in turn, I'm dealing with people who are mandating vaccines, and they're saying, well, the CDC says that. And I said, well, the CDC actually encourages young people. They're not saying that they must get vaccinated, but liberals are kind of taking this stuff, whatever the CDC says, whatever Fauci says, not just running with it, but kind of treating it like holy writ, right? And running with it like it's the gospel truth. And the fact of the matter is that I would tell people listening right now, and I spent 4 years working in immunology at the University of Pittsburgh for the organ transplant team, late 1980s, early 1990s. If you're a young person in particular, be really, really, really careful about which of these vaccinations that you pick. I would advise people over 60, over 70 to get vaccinated. But a 15, 16-year-old girl, you got to think really carefully about this and do your homework, because some of these vaccines, and again, especially Pfizer and Moderna, these are not traditional vaccines. They use messenger RNA. There's a new one, hopefully, that will be approved soon called Novavax, which is a more traditional vaccine along the lines of the shingles vaccine, hepatitis vaccine, the polio vaccine. That's more like the traditional heat-killed vaccine that people normally use. So be careful with this, because there's a girl in my area, 19 years old, who got myocarditis after a vaccine. She got a heart transplant, Amy, a few weeks ago. A heart transplant. Do you know what they do when they give you a heart transplant? They cut open right in the middle of your chest and pull your rib cage open and pull your heart out and put a new one in. I mean, you talk about something dramatic. I mean, that girl, she'll be lucky to live, and if she does live, it's not going to be easy.
But
I don't know.
Right, but have they determined that her heart enlargement is because of the Pfizer vaccine?
Well, I'm trying to find this out, and I'm getting updates every other day about her. And that's what I'll say for the record. That's what some are claiming. I can't say it for sure, but I can tell you that the CDC has taken this so seriously that twice now on their website they say flat out, we are monitoring these reports.
And you can find you can find that on the website, the CDC website, where it states that. They're monitoring.
It's on the website twice. In fact, it was on there 3 times. They removed one of them, and now there's just 2. But they're very clear statements, and I commend the CDC for doing that. And they better do it, because some of these institutions that are mandating vaccines among young people I'll tell you, these places, they better be careful. They're opening up themselves really wide for some serious lawsuits.
Well, we have a teachers union that has basically said that 80% of all eligible students must be vaccinated by October 1, and then they're demanding that 80% of the students under 12 be vaccinated within 60 days of a shot being approved for that age group. Think about that for a second.
But yet then
That's
they
incredible.
won't have, but here real quick, Paul, but they won't have a vaccination mandate placed on them.
That's right. There's no vaccination mandate
But
based
they'll tell
on
us
them.
what to do with our kids, but we
Right.
can't tell them.
Yeah,
Because they're the ones that are in danger, not our kids.
Right, including the kids
that's
under the
right.
age of 12. And there have been only 3 children who have died.
In Chicago.
And they claim COVID-related illnesses, but all 3 children had serious pre-existing conditions.
And they all died early in the pandemic.
Right.
Right. Well, and that's exactly right. And I could tell you, in the case of my family, we had 8 of us who got COVID, and of the 8, only 2 tested positive, because 3 of us got tested. I got tested. I had it first, and by that time, I knew I'd test negative because I'd kind of blown through it. It had been like 3 weeks. But in my family, that's 8. There's actually 10 of us, and I think the other 2 probably were asymptomatic. But I know for sure that 8 of us had it. Only 2 of those show up on official records as COVID-positive cases. And this is an important point because there are about 35 million registered cases of testing positive. But in reality, it's got to be at least triple that. Yeah. And I could tell you so many families like ours where they said, oh, yeah, we all had a loss of taste, loss of smell, temperature, coughing. None of us got tested because they're all little kids. They kind of blew through it in a couple days. And and this is important because Fauci and the CDC and others are saying, well, we've got to reach like 75% vaccination because, only X number of people have had COVID. No, it's not only X number of people. Everybody knows it's got to be more than 35 million.
And
it has to be.
And don't you think proof of infection should be just as good as a vaccination card?
Yes, precisely so. And that's what's really getting to me. And I just saw yesterday that the case at Indiana University in Bloomington, Bopp Law Firm representing a number of students, Indiana University is forcing all these kids to be vaccinated, and they don't even have an exemption for kids who have already had COVID, of all things. And they don't even have a religious exemption in that case. So the idea that somebody who struggled and labored through COVID for 2 weeks, like my daughter, should be forced to now be vaccinated, they have natural immunity. They're part of herd immunity.
I know. Natural immunity has taken the back seat in this.
Yeah. And I want to know, why some mRNA-based vaccine that was researched 2 years ago by Pfizer is suddenly more effective against a brand new Delta variant than natural immunity. Where's the proof of that? Right?
Well, when is the FDA going to officially, we're using it in an emergency basis right now. When are they going to actually come forward? How long is it going to take for them to just have non-emergency use and just say it is a viable vaccine?
Well, I don't think they can, Amy, because of these reports that are out there, because of these reports of side effects, which is why they won't mess with it. I'm watching the Novavax very carefully. I'm reading reports that could be approved pretty soon. I think that one's probably safer. And I could tell you that a lot of the people that aren't vaccinated right now, I know many cases of this, are waiting for vaccines like that. Okay. And so they don't want to have to force their kid to get jabbed in the next few weeks before classes start when there might be a better vaccine alternative, right? And that's common sense. And that's a kind of, to quote the liberals, my body, my choice, right?
Right.
Keep your hands off my body. That's the kind of thing that they ought to honor, right? They're all for that when it comes to abortion, but when it comes to your own body, right? They want to put you in a line and shove the needle in you. It's outrageous.
All right, Paul Kengor, we have to leave it there for today, but thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. You can read his column, Herd Immunity to Herd Mentality and Had COVID, Not Getting Vaccinated at spectator.org. Thanks, Paul.
All right. Take care, you guys.
You too. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Hear about the big stories of the day, then talk about them right here on Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
PGS Gold and Coin is having a grand opening event, and they're giving away a $500 gold coin to celebrate their newest location in Villa Park. It's free to enter at pgsgoldandcoin.com. Visit pgsgoldandcoin.com, then click on 5